when we talk about anxiety, right? It's like only about 25% of Black people in America actually ever seek treatment for anxiety.
That's
For
insane. We have
yeah,
reason to be the most anxious people on the planet. That is insane to me that only a quarter of us seek that sort of
yeah,
treatment.
only a quarter of us, right? So we kind of exist in this space where this feeling of uneasiness, this feeling of like nervousness, this feeling of being out of sorts becomes your everyday existence, and that's a
Mm,
suboptimal existence, right? Because it will lead to illnesses like physical illnesses, right?
right.
Because it'll stress your system down. It'll lead to problems at work, problems sleeping, problems with your relationships, problems with kids. It is a
Mm,
very unhealthy space to be in. And as a result of this election and the results, there's a whole lot more of that going on,
right,
right? The quote unquote economic anxiety is about to be real, right? It's going to be a whole
that's
lot
right.
more than economic anxiety, right? The other
Yeah,
thing is that there's a big stigma
that's
for
true.
in our community for us to, hey, say like, oh, you know what, I am feeling I should seek help, or something is, not right, and I got to seek it. There's a lot of suffering in silence in our
Mm.
community, which then also compounds, the symptoms, the syndromes, and the effects of that.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So this is, we find ourselves in a moment right now where this is exactly the sort of information that we all need, right? This is the
Mhm.
sort of information that's going to help us to navigate this space. And one of the things I always say this I appreciate about you is that you're not just trying to get us on to consider the devil lettuce or the
Mhm.
blessed weed. You are someone who focuses really on the CBD side of things, which is the side of the cannabis plant that does not get you high, and you never rush to the CBD as a solution. You always talk about the other holistic therapies and opportunities that exist for us who want to explore a variety of things, including
Yep.
wellness practices of a whole sort. So before we get to how CBD can support us as we navigate these stressors, what are some of the other naturopathic remedies and solutions that you would suggest we take a look at?
So I personally am a big fan of counseling and therapy, right? I always tell people it's kind of like taking your computer to the geek squad when it's like not running properly, right? Like
Oh, I'm totally stealing that. I am total, and I will probably forget to credit you after the
you
first 3 times.
don't be
I'm
biting my
totally
lines.
stealing that.
I'm gonna
I'm
let you.
taking it.
Yeah,
Taking it.
I'm gonna let you bite my lines. All right, I'm gonna let you bite my rhymes. All
I'm
right,
taking it. I'm taking
like,
it.
as long as you don't copy my
Oh, but
flow
but
and my
that's
style.
look at you. That's such a good way to put it. There's nothing. Your computer isn't a deficient computer because it's overrun. It just needs a tune up, and so
Yep.
does our brain. Oh wow.
Exactly. So that's how I always look at it, right? And so I became a fan of that personally a while back, and it's been wonderful for me, right? And so getting through that kind of thing and saying, hey, man, maybe somebody has another perspective that like will open this up for me and let me
Yeah.
figure it out, or give me some advice that I personally am not privy to right now, because you can't know it all. So I'm always a big fan of that. Then I'm also a big fan of natural things. Like one of the things too, I would advise, I always tell people is like you don't have to stay with the same therapist.
Right.
So find somebody like that you're comfortable with,
Mm.
because there are cultural differences, right? So you're
Yeah.
going to look for a counselor and a therapist. You probably want to look for somebody who understands where you're coming from and empathizes with you more than they're kind of like studying you, right? So
Right.
you're right. So you don't become an object, to be right dissected, and you're more of a human. So I always like find somebody who you feel easy with, that will understand where you're coming from. And then a lot of us, we don't like to take medication, so we don't like to take pharmaceuticals, right? It's
Nice.
not a big thing. Many of us grew up in cultural ways that we had home remedies for a lot of stuff,
Yep.
right? There's
Yep.
always a root, a plant, a tea, or something that you could do home. So and we're very sensitive to the idea of like being on pharmaceuticals, and that's been something that's really been big, right? So this idea that you can heal yourself naturally to things like exercise is a great thing, right? It releases endorphins, it releases cannabinoids in your brain that allow you to feel better. It releases the pent up energy that you got, right? So
Yep.
some of the frustration, it provides an outlet for that. Like let's say you feel like frustrated, you want to hit something. Going to a boxing class is great. you get to go hit something and let it all out, you know?
Yeah. A
Let's
good
say
friend of
you're
mine just took up kickboxing. She loves it.
yeah, I mean,
Absolutely
these are
loves it.
great things. Or your brain is cloudy and overrun and you can't get your thoughts. Going for a bike ride or a run or a stroll is a great thing because you get to clear your thoughts. And if you do it far enough, you could get like a exercise high where your body's releasing a whole bunch of serotonin and other endorphins where you're like, man, I feel great and clear your thoughts. So these type of things are really important to engage in and look towards when you're feeling like, geez, I don't feel right. Like I don't feel right. I gotta, there's a pit in my stomach, right? My stomach don't feel right, right?
Hmm.
And so that's the really important thing that we want to consider first before we start like adding a bunch of stuff to our bodies and doing a bunch of stuff. See the things that we can do, manage ourselves completely naturally before we start doing a whole bunch of other stuff.
And then once we've done once we are doing, because it's not that you do therapy and then you're done. It's not
Yeah.
that you work out and then you're done. Like, oh, I worked
Yeah.
out. Don't have to do that again. These are ongoing
Yes.
practices that require, what's our buzzword for Moment of Gratitude today, folks? Everyone say it with me, discipline. So
Right.
these are things that should be ongoing. We should be in the practice of practicing these things. And as we're doing that, is that at the point where we can consider looking at CBD to support us
Yeah.
in that wellness practice? What would that look like?
Correct. So the way that I look at it is from the position that a lot of people who want to kind of move away from the paradigm that Western medicine has kind of shifted to a lot, which was like, hey, you got a problem, here's your solution in a box, or here's your solution in a bottle, right?
Yep.
And so a lot of people have not felt comfortable or felt like that's what works, right? So
Mm.
now I would say if I offered you CBD or cannabis in the same way. I'm just doing the same thing to just replacing one thing with the other. Like, oh,
Right.
here's all your answers in a little, in a little bottle, in a gummy, in a capsule. It's the same thing, and I think that creates barriers and limitations to the effectiveness of any treatment plan because you're not treating the entire person. You're not really listening to them. You're just giving them a solution and saying,
Right.
peace, please come back if it
Right.
doesn't work out for you, right?
I've
And
sort of
so,
baked in your need to come back by giving you a
yeah,
part-time
you're
solution.
saying,
So we gonna see each other
yeah, we
again.
go.
Don't you
I will
worry.
see you again, huh? Make sure you pay
Come
on
see
your
me.
leave a little something on my dread nightstand before you leave.
What? Wait, no. Why are you doing that? See, oh no, holy water. We need a holy water cleanse. The spirit of the Lord is
That's
not pleased.
exactly what's
We ain't had to
good.
go all there. See that the spirit of the Lord is not
That's what you gotta
pleased.
pay. You
That
gotta
see,
pay on your way out,
that's
girl.
when it goes from the blessed weed to the devil's lettuce.
So there's tons of ways that you can do it. You can take the medication, but make sure that you're not looking at it as a silver bullet because there's a lot of stuff going on. People are complex beings, right? So it's not like one thing is going to solve all your problems. Make sure that you keep that in mind. Make sure that you're mindful of the fact that what you're going through is not abnormal, right? Everybody's kind of feeling it in some way or another, and you shouldn't try to roll through this by yourself. You shouldn't,
Right.
because that ain't going to help you either. And it's not going to
That's
help your
right.
family or your loved ones, your relationship, your performance. So, realistically, take care of yourself and look for ways to take care of the different parts of you because you're very complex. And if CBD is something that you see could help you, we're happy to help you. You know that. I'm always ready to
Yeah.
hook my people up, you know.
Listen, somebody was giving me a testimony the other day. I was at the office and they were like, girl, that Damas. I was like, what he do? What he do? I'm thinking you was misbehaving. They was like, girl, that product that you told me. I was like, yes. And did you use the code Lurie? Because y'all, what you don't know is, or what you should know by now for long-time listeners, if you use the code Lurie on Dr. Damas' website, you will also get a discount. So there's that. And you all have amazing customer service. I know because I have called and I've gotten reports of people who have called. I did not use my real name though. So, there's that.
You use your club name.
My former Starbucks name. I used to have a Starbucks name, but I no longer do
Let
Starbucks.
me find out. Let me find out.
My daughter and I, when we would go to Starbucks, she'd be like, "That is not your name." I was like, "Shh, girl, hush." Tell these people
It
who I
is.
am. They ain't gonna mess up my name when they write it down anyway. But yeah, so I know for a fact that the gummies that you have provided, and we have incorporated them into our vitamin regimen at our household because again, CBD does not interrupt or disrupt or have an impact on your mental well-being. You have gummies that are appropriate for young people to take. I know you've had children who are part of your client basis as well. So
Okay.
y'all, this is not, we are not talking about, being in the back alley distilling something into a little, this is clean. This is
Yeah.
this is regulated,
Yeah.
and he's done the research to support it. So, Dr. Damas, I always appreciate you, and we're going to share the article because again, you don't just talk about it, you write about it, and you use these things called sources.